Hello, welcome to GTV Breakfast News at 6 a.m. I am Malti Decider Sadiq. We're streaming live on our social media handles. Do endeavor to watch us there. GTV Ghana on Facebook, on YouTube, and on Twitter. You can leave your thoughts and comments there. Stories making headlines this morning. We'll be looking at politics, we'll look at crime, we'll look at the international front as well. Let's start off, though, with some politics. Now, the National Democratic Congress organized what it calls the True State of the Nation address. Now, Johnson Esedu Nketiah, who is the chairman of the party, addressed a conference at the University of Professional Studies, Accra, UPSA. This comes after President Nana Akufo-Addo delivered the State of the Nation address, SONA, in Parliament.
The reason for Ghana's economic collapse is the expenditure on the bloated size of government. As has been revealed by our hard-working members of Parliament, between January and September of 2022, the Akufo-Addo-Bawumia presidency wasted the taxpayers' money as follows. The president's operational enhancement expenditure, whatever that means, cost the suffering Ghanaian taxpayer a mind-boggling 59.4 million Ghana cedis. The fuel bills at the president alone cost the taxpayer 51.1 million Ghana cedis. President Akufo-Addo's regional tours last year cost 16.9 million Ghana cedis. Ties and batteries for official vehicles at the presidency alone cost Ghanaians 15 million Ghana cedis. A cabinet retreat, cabinet meeting outside Accra, cost the taxpayer a colossal 4.8 million Ghana cedis. Payment for new vehicles cost the suffering Ghanaian taxpayer 6.5 million. After Nana Addo had declared that they will not purchase any new vehicles. Payment for networking and ICT equipment cost the Ghanaian taxpayer 6.6 million Ghana cedis. An amount of 10.4 million was spent on the Independence Day celebration in Cape Coast. 10 million for Independence Day celebration. An amount of 4 million was spent by the Vice President on so-called emergency activities. Whatever that means, nobody knows. Telecommunications and internet services from January to September alone cost the suffering Ghanaian taxpayer a shocking 20 million cedis. And last but not the least, expenditure on office furniture and fittings cost 7 million cedis.
Now, there will be more expansive conversation on this on GTV Breakfast. You'd want to stay tuned for that. Let's look at crime in agriculture. The Ghana Cocoa Board Anti-Smuggling Task Force, in collaboration with the security agencies, has intercepted more than 1,000 bags of cocoa beans being smuggled out of neighboring countries. The operation, according to Cocoa Board, is prevalent along border towns and was done in a period of 2 weeks in the month of March. The head of public affairs at Cocoa Board, Mr. Fifi Boafo, spoke to GBC News in an interview earlier.
Been operating since October last year, and the operation is ongoing. The team of Cocoa Board has been working together with the security agencies. So they operate largely on top of the people who are smuggling the cocoa are people who are into business. So they smuggle it and they sell it to foreign buyers. And these people, as business people, make some revenue by doing so. When Cocoa Board is buying from the cocoa farmers, of course, because of the investment Cocoa Board has made into the business, there's a need for you to take some amount of money that goes into servicing the industry. But these are people who are not investing anything in the business. And then they get some revenue out of it without making any contribution to the industry. Of course, you realize that exchange differential has made the CFA countries price better than what we have in our country, unlike what the case has been the last 5 to 6 years. So this time around, it is more advantageous for someone to get the cocoa to the countries that share borders with us. Bear in mind, these countries also don't contribute anything to what the farmers put on the markets. So in a situation where Ghana, you have invested all the amount of money from the seedlings level to the time of harvesting, and then these people just come in, get a cocoa from the farmers, and then they take it away. One important point I need to make is that they pay the farmers the amount of money which we are offering them. So the farmers do not benefit in any way.
Okay.
And then also, we as a country also don't benefit from this arrangement. If you smuggle cocoa and you are arrested, the law says that you should be punished with a prison term of not less than 5 years. So anyone who is arrested faces a 5-year prison term. Apart from that, the cocoa you have also bought from the people, you also lose the value of it because we take over the cocoa and then you don't earn anything out of it. The license buying companies that are also involved in this, immediately we come to the point where we realize that you are involved in this activity. What happened is that you, the license buying company, will also withdraw your license. We are rewarding people who give us information about what is happening. And then when we get the information, we act on it. We are collaborating with the security agencies. We are speaking to neighboring countries that this cocoa find its way there to also help us in dealing with the problem we are faced with now.
Now, President Akufo-Addo has directed the police to commence investigations into allegations made by the former Minister for Environment, Science, Technology and Innovation, MESI, Professor Kwabena Frimpong Boateng, to the effect that some top government officials were engaged in illegal small-scale mining, popularly known as Galamsey. He made the allegations on GBC News' current affairs program, Legends of Our Time, with Gift TJ.
GBC News current affairs program Legends of Our Time with Gifty Ajayi, the former Minister for Environment, Science, Technology and Innovation, Professor Kwabena Frimpong Boateng, revealed that top officials of the NPP, including ministers, are involved in Galamsey. He explained that some of the government appointees who supervised his ousting from the ministry continued the illegal mining. He further alleged that the 500 missing excavators from Galamsey in 2020 was a fabrication by some individuals in government to get him out of the way. The excavators seized from illegal miners were said to have gone missing in February 2020, prompting an investigation into the circumstances surrounding the excavators. Following the Professor Frimpong Boateng's allegations on GBC News, many civil society organizations and the minority in parliament joined in the call for probe into the matter. President Akufo-Addo on Monday directed the police to investigate the allegations. Reports indicate that the CID has commenced investigations into the issues raised by Professor Frimpong Boateng. Meanwhile, President Akufo-Addo has said his government will continue the fight against Galamsey with the support of the security agencies in the short term.
Then on crime, let's take you to the courts. Now, Mr. Michael Enim, one of the accused persons standing trial in the murder of late Major Maxwell Adam Mahama, has denied prosecution's claim that he conspired with 13 others to intentionally cause unlawful harm to the late soldier, which led to his death. At Monday's hearing, the accused said he tried rescuing the deceased soldier to safety after he identified himself as a military officer. However, he was unsuccessful because the crowd at the time overpowered him. Michael Enim with the others have been charged with conspiracy to commit crime, abetment of crime and murder.
The accused, Michael Enim, also known as Nana Enim, narrating what happened on that day, told the court at about 9 a.m. on Monday, May 29, 2017, he was at home working on his car when he heard gunshots amid shouts from the town folks that an alleged armed robber had entered the town. He said he did not pay attention and continued working on his car until he heard the armed robber had shot someone bearing the same name as his in-law. He told the court he was alarmed at the development and rushed to the clinic to check and realized it was his in-law who had been shot. He avers that he left the clinic and went outside where he heard people say the said armed robber had been arrested. Per his account, when he got to the crime scene after the late Major Maxwell Adam Mahama was identified as the alleged armed robber, he landed a blow on his face. He claimed the late soldier told him he was not an armed robber but a soldier. He said this made him panic and told the irate youth, who were then hurling stones and other objects at the said soldier, what he said and asked them to help take him to the police station. He claimed someone from the crowd said he had a gun on him, so he searched his pockets for it but did not find a gun. He claimed he insisted they take him to the police, but his plea was not heeded as the mob continued to lynch him. Michael Enim said he tried pulling the soldier away from the mob to his car to enable him rescue him, but the angry crowd attacked them both, and so he, the accused, tried escaping to his car but was pursued by the mob. He said although he managed to run away from the crowd, they smashed his windscreen. The accused then said, fearing the mob would come after him at home, he ran away from the town to escape the wrath of the irate crowd.
Higher from the court, the U.S. Vice President, Her Excellency Kamala Harris, and her husband, Mr. Douglas Emhoff, will visit Ghana on March 25, 2023. A statement issued by the U.S. Embassy in Ghana says the visit would build on recent U.S.-Africa Leaders Summit that President Biden hosted in Washington in December 2022. Throughout the trip, in partnership with African governments and the private sector, the Vice President would advance efforts to expand access to the digital economy, support climate adaptation and resilience, and strengthen business ties and investment, including through innovation, entrepreneurship, and the economic empowerment of women. The second family, as part of the visit to Africa, will also be in Dar es Salaam, Tanzania, and Lusaka, Zambia. Now, Professor Vincent Adali-Mensah, an associate professor at the University of Education, Winneba, has been sharing with us some insights into the historic trip as competitors like Russia and China make inroads in the region.
We'll take advantage of those opportunities. Those can be trade opportunities, they can be political opportunities, they can be investment opportunities, they could be security opportunities like partnership, building partnerships to secure our waters, our skies, and all that. It is about two different interests. It's about how Africa takes advantage of the opportunities that are being presented. But for the U.S., this visit is to secure its strategic interest. Its strategic interest right now at the moment, you can see from global politics and geopolitical developments that the U.S. and the West are competing with China and Russia in Africa. Mali has kicked out France, the Burkina Faso is kicking out France, and Guinea and other countries may follow. The implication is that the West needs to reevaluate its presence in Africa. The U.S. has seen that its interest in Africa, its influence in Africa is waning. The interest of the collective West in Africa is waning. The influence that they have is waning. And Africa is repositioning itself also to be able to play well in world politics. So I think it's a messy field. And what I think African countries should do are two. One, see how you can take advantage of the opportunities that are presented. Two, use the opportunities to be able to present yourself as powerful forces, that the world needs you. You don't only need the world. So that Africa doesn't go begging.
Let's look at health and sanitation now. When the Pantan landfill site was decommissioned a few years ago, residents living in and around the enclave were hopeful of a new era of environmental sanity. However, this relief has been short-lived. The decommissioned site has now been turned into a place of open defecation. The residents are pleading with the authorities to use the decommissioned site for its intended purpose and save them from the pollution. A report by Winifred Afum.
Landfill, which is within the Ga East municipality of the Greater Accra region, used to be an isolated area full of bush. But with time, areas around the dump site became settlements for squatters and permanent dwellers alike. There was severe pollution. Leachate from the refuse was contaminating surface water in the community. The environmental impact on the people, coupled with the site's proximity to the Pantine Hospital, underlined the need for decommissioning. A few years ago, under the World Bank-sponsored Garrett project, the landfill was downgraded. The occupants were compensated to vacate the area, but most of them continued to stay. Now, the settlers have increased in number and crowded out the landfill site. Having no places of convenience, most of them use the site as a place for open defecation. Years have passed after the site was decommissioned. However, residents are yet to breathe in good air. They tell us the stench from the dump site, especially in the afternoons, is unbearable.
How are they bring me particularly say nipa dodo na ni toilet ewe mu ha. Esanse squatters be brave wa obi asase no te so. Eno wa kiosk no si so. Ntu me nya toilet wo ho. Enti ni nyina no omu nyina sorry a bola iswa na omu ba jana. Ti omu ba sa na yen ayete ha no. Ha ye one or how are you say fresh air papa bi.
It's very difficult to sit outside for fresh air. We are always battling one health condition or another.
Because many ama when you yare. Into bones and no yare, unume dretch now say yare, and the moon once na. Or how a sour was say, a man for name tree, or munya name tree and so ha. Enti na ntwe bi no ene omunua ne no mo park si wo na mumwa enwan san kitinkiti bi wom enu pia na etutu taro ho saa untumi no ayehwe
to obi asase so untumi nkotu tiefi wo.
We are squatters and we are not allowed to construct places of convenience on the land.
Ebi firi no ho na eba.
It was about 10:30 in the morning when our cameras captured people climbing the heap to defecate. We are told this kind of scene is very common, especially in the mornings and mid-afternoons. Mubarak tells us about the numerous vain efforts made to rid the community of squatters who they believe are the ones mostly engaged in the open defecation.
Although you can see there's a signpost that has been, notice of, refuse closed down, but it's not closed down. The challenge is enforcement. People still dump refuse, people defecate, but who is to enforce it? You can't go and then tell people not to do. It's the assembly's work. If it starts raining now, the rain from the top of the, the refuse dump flows all the way into our houses, surroundings and all that. So actually it's affecting us.
Members of the Ghana Wash Journalist Network undertook a field trip to the decommissioned dump site. A few meters from the dump site is a residential project under construction. At the site, some men were busy digging a well. An environmental health officer with the Ga East Municipal Assembly, Mr. Samuel Sakpate, stopped them from continuing the work. Until the Pantine decommissioned landfill site is put to its intended use and residents acquire household toilets, waste collectors will continue to scavenge while open defecation continues unabated. For GBC News, Winifred Efum reporting.
We do apologize for those disturbing images at this wee hour of the morning. Now, bolstering trade is at the heart of the 88 member states of the La Francophonie, which is marking its 53rd anniversary yesterday. Ghana's Foreign Minister, Madame Shirley Oyoko-Botchwey, said speaking one language makes it possible to scale up trade and consequently growth because La Francophonie accounts for 1.5 million people in the world. Ghana joined the French-speaking association, which spans 5 continents, in 2018.
Boasts of 88 member states and other non-state actors thanks to the visionary leadership of President Leopold Sedar Senghor of Senegal, President Habib Bourguiba of Tunisia, President Hamani Diori of Niger, and Prince Norodom Sihanouk, King Father of Cambodia. Our delight in belonging to this robust organization, founded on such noble principles as the promotion of the French language, culture, and linguistic diversity, the promotion of peace, democracy, and human rights, which are at the core of our Constitution, cannot be overemphasized. We share in the need to support education, training, higher education, and research, as we are committed to enhance economic cooperation between us and the 5 continents of the Francophone world in pursuit of sustainable development. Considering that La Francophonie accounts for over 1.5 billion people, represents 1/3 of UN members countries, and Africa has the largest number of French speakers, accounting for 55% of the continental population, we are happy to say that Africa holds a key to the future of La Francophonie.
Let's look at Ghana's debt structuring. Government officials led by the Finance Minister, Mr. Ken Ofori-Atta, are in China to have negotiations on debt restructuring with the Asian country. The trip was earlier postponed to the end of March because it coincided with the National People's Congress of China's meeting in early March 2023.
The finance minister left over the weekend via Addis Ababa, where he is attending the UNECA high-level ministers meeting on global financial architecture. After that meeting, Mr. Ofori-Atta is expected to head to China by 22nd March 2023. The minister, who is leading the government delegation, is expected to continue bilateral talks with China, as well as seek financial assurances for Ghana's program with the International Monetary Fund. The Minister for Finance has already held meetings with officials of Exim Bank China in Ghana, all in the line of reprofiling the country's debt to China. Ghana is hoping to restructure $5.7 billion of its external debt with China, holding 1/3 of it amounting to $1.7 billion. The structure of Ghana's external debt shows that the country owes China about $1.7 billion, Eurobonds $13.1 billion, and multilateral $8.1 billion. The rest are Paris Club countries, with $1.9 billion and other creditors, $3.2 billion. Securing a deal from these creditors will go a long way to getting IMF board approval for Ghana's economic program.
Let's take it to the foreign front now. South African President Cyril Ramaphosa has told citizens that their right to protest does not give anyone the right to harass, intimidate, or threaten anyone else. He has also warned against damaging property or harming other people.
It comes amid protests organized by the Minority Economic Freedom Fighters Party across the country, dubbed the National Shutdown. They are calling for President Cyril Ramaphosa to resign, accusing him of corruption and mismanaging an energy crisis. South African police have so far arrested 87 people in connection with the protest. The state has also deployed more than 3,000 soldiers to help guard key infrastructure. Over 24,000 tires have been confiscated by police in different towns. Police are working with the military to maintain calm.
Now, China has condemned the killing of Chinese nationals by militants in Central African Republic, CAR, outside the capital, Bangui. A statement from the Foreign Ministry said Chinese President Xi Jinping called for the severe punishment of the perpetrators.
The mayor of the central Bembari town said they counted 9 bodies and 2 wounded in the attack on Sunday. The victims are said to have been working in a gold mine run by the Gold Coast Group. The Chinese embassy in Bangui has urged citizens to avoid traveling outside the capital following the killings, raising the alert levels to very high. It said its government would work with embassies and governments to safeguard its citizens in African countries. It comes amid several attacks on Chinese nationals abroad in recent months. The Central African Republic has been plagued by violence and insecurity since a civil war broke out in 2013.
Now, Russia's President Vladimir Putin has said he will discuss Xi Jinping's 12-point plan to settle the acute crisis in Ukraine during a highly anticipated visit to Moscow by the Chinese president. China released a plan to end the war last month. It includes ceasing hostilities and resuming peace talks. But on Friday, the U.S. warned the peace plan could be a stalling tactic.
China's plan did not specifically say that Russia must withdraw from Ukraine, which Ukraine has insisted as a precondition for any talks. Instead, it talked of respecting the sovereignty of all countries, adding that all parties must stay rational and exercise restraint and gradually de-escalate the situation. The plan also condemned the usage of unilateral sanctions, seen as a veiled criticism of Ukraine's allies in the West. On Monday, a military band gave Mr. Xi a warm welcome to Moscow. Mr. Putin hailed China for observing the principles of justice and pushing for undivided security for every country. In return, Mr. Xi told Mr. Putin, "Under your strong leadership, Russia has made great strides in its prosperous development." Before Mr. Xi's arrival, Mr. Putin wrote in China's People's Daily newspaper that the two nations will not be weakened by aggressive U.S. policy.
And it's time for us to get you the weather update. Felicity Ahafionyo, Chief Meteorological Officer with Ghana Meteo Agency, joins us on the phone lines. Good morning, Felicity.
Good morning, Motiti. It's been a long time.
Yeah, it has been a while. It's been a week, Felicity. But I'm back. And, you know, interestingly, it's the weather month. It's meteorological month. When I was in South Africa, the weather was relatively cold. And we just couldn't wait to get back to Ghana, where it's a bit hot, but it seems okay for us. How is our weather looking like? Are we still experiencing mid-temperatures?
Yes, that was a nice experience. So the sun is gradually migrating away from them. So we are expecting their temperatures, South Africa and its neighboring countries, to have lower temperatures.
Right.
But we would rather be having higher temperatures and a bit uncomfortable, especially during the afternoon hours for now. Yeah, so for today, the day is starting with some few clouds in the sky. If somebody can peep, you could see that the sky is a bit clear.
Right.
Over Greater Accra, we expect similar things over the other parts of the country. But from mid-morning, we expect it to become partly cloudy. Then some areas will become cloudier than the others, and then we are having 60% chance of rain and thunder over Koforidua, Achimda, Obuasi, Sunyani, and its environs, and then some places over the North Tamale Yendi is also on our radar today for rain in the late afternoon into the evening hours. In terms of temperatures, we are expecting it around 39 for the north, 36 over the transition, 35 over the middle sector, but some areas are likely to record 34. Greater Accra 33, secondary Takoradi 32, but if you are going to Cape Coast, Winneba and its environs, temperatures will be as Greater Accra 33 degrees Celsius. For the state of the sea, today is going to be rough. We are having some rain and thunderclouds, so we are expecting that they should fish with caution. The Volta Lake currently is cool for fishing activities, so they can also go out and do their business as usual. But from late afternoon, we are expecting some rain and thunderclouds over the Kwame Dam, so from Akosombo area down to the Volta portion, that's around Sogakofe area. So once the clouds are gathering and the color is changing from gray to darker, gray or black, they should just retreat and then go back home and resume maybe later in the night or tomorrow. So in a nutshell, this is how we are expecting it to be for today over Ghana.
Thank you so much, Felicity Ahafionyo. I'm sure from tomorrow, the Meteo Agency will be giving us a rundown of how the meteorological day will be celebrated as Meteorological Month. And she did say that Cove Town, Tamale Yendi, Kwame Danso, Gahope area will experience some patches of rainfall, bringing us a close to GTV Breakfast News. I am Altitude Saida Sadiq. I'll be back at 7 with sports, but up next is Health Check on GTV Breakfast. We're looking at Down syndrome. I do want to know if it's different from autism, so stay with GTV Breakfast.